warm welcome to you all. Hope you'll thoroughly enjoy our programme.
Oh, hello.
It's the Real Britannia podcast, a very British podcast about very British movies with just a hint of professionalism. Good morning, Scott here. Joining me, as always, down the other end of a Skype line from York, it's Stephen. Good morning.
Morning.
Hello. And as it's a Hammer special, also down a Skype line from Leicester, it's Mark. Hello.
Hey. Yeah, it's lovely here. It's actually quite a nice day. You know, the dogs are singing, the birds are barking. Everything is right.
Oh my, where on earth do you live? I thought you were...
Lovely in Leicester, eh?
Yeah, someone had a heavy night last night, obviously.
Uh-huh.
Well, LSD in Leicester then.
Absolutely. Right, we're running a week late because we did try and organise this last week, and we're not blaming anybody, but the problems got in the way, and it was just like, oh bugger, we're going to have to record it this week. So I haven't watched this for about 10 days. I know Mark watched it yesterday because he sent us a little message saying he was going in. Stephen, when did you watch it, mate? Probably a week or so ago?
Yeah, 8 days ago. Yeah, 9 days ago.
Okay.
I'm being fingered here, aren't I? I'm being fingered.
No,
We're not saying anything.
Well, it is my fault, yeah.
I'm just using this to highlight the fact that although it was only about 8-9 days ago for me, it's a very forgettable film because I'm struggling to remember. So I've got a few windows open on my laptop just to try and give me some hints and some clues as to what went on in the thing. And there's a couple of memorable sequences. It's not a bad film by any shadow of a doubt. It's a very good version of Phantom of the Opera. It's 1960. Let's play the trailer. We'll be back after this.
Come if you dare within these walls. On stage is color, beauty, and light. But in the shadows lurks a monstrous evil.
Young woman, you must come with me.
Terror haunts these dusty corridors. Murder waits its call in the dressing rooms. And on cue, death makes his entrance. They have no right to love and happiness, for this beautiful young girl is tangled in a web of terror. The Phantom of the Opera. The hideous echo of a night of agony and horror. A night that must be avenged, even from beyond the grave.
Phantom of the Opera, released in the UK in 1962, directed, of course, by Terence Fisher, written by Anthony Hines, and a writing credit for Gaston Leroux here as well, starring Herbert Lom, Heather Sears, Edward de Souza, Michael Gough, and a host of stars that will no doubt trouble Stephen later as we get to the Hall of Fame. The synopsis, I'm sure most people are pretty aware of the story. It's the 1962 Hammer version, and the synopsis goes like this. Beneath his mask, the grotesque face of horror unimaginable. Inside his heart, the desperate desire for beauty and love. A London opera house is haunted by tragic events on its opening night, but when its star is kidnapped, a producer tracks down the Phantom, who is intent on seeing his revenge. Who's going to start us off?
Well, that ain't true. It's not about love, really.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's not even about revenge. It's the fact he just wants to hear his opera, right? That's really, but sung the way he wants it. This to me, I mean, I don't think the Phantom of the Opera would bother the horror world if it weren't for the Lon Chaney version, because that's kind of iconic. And most versions of Phantom of the Opera aren't great. They're okay. And this is in that okay kind of camp. It's when it goes a bit different, it gets better, like Phantom of the Paradise.
Absolutely, yeah.
They do love their drains in this. They love to drain. I noticed that about this.
Stephen, did you notice anything apart from drains? I mean, what you've seen a few versions. How's this sort of standing up for you, mate?
I mean, it reminds me why I don't like opera, but. Every opera sounds as bad as the St. Joan one that's been performed in this one.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I mean, this man is supposed to be like the greatest opera writer of his generation, and it was just awful, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
honestly, it was okay. It was okay as an opera, but
that's when
we're Philistines. We hate opera, so
Yeah, I say it's only okay as an opera because opera is generally terrible. So okay is about as good as opera gets. No,
Bugs Bunny isn't in it. We're not interested, right?
Absolutely. There you go. You've got it to a T there. Yeah, it deviates from, as a lot of Hammer does when it does a story that's already established. It deviates from that story to basically take the title and do its own version of, with maybe a couple of the title characters in it. But I feel that this really didn't achieve its potential, unfortunately, and it felt like there was just too much lost. They didn't have, as you say, the proper revenge element. I mean, the monster in this wasn't the actual Phantom. It was the person who'd stolen the script, who essentially got away scot-free, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah, that's another big problem. They could have so rewritten it so he didn't go away scot-free. But anyway,
yeah, they could have quite easily. It could have been, a different take on that. So it looked really good. I'll say that for it. It had that Hammer lushness and the sets, and the sets certainly looked less wooden than the lead acting. I'd say. I mean, the supporting cast was as usual in Hammer. You've got some excellent turns,
very good,
as it were. That's really surprising because Heather Sears is. You watch other things that she's absolutely excellent actress.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot in this. I feel like there was just untapped potential, unfortunately, and that's a disappointment. I think is really, it wasn't that it was terrible, but it's. I mean, it's his first time I've watched it.
Same here. I think I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, I watched it about a year ago, and I could just about remember some of the better bits. I was going to say gooder bits. What must I like? Some of the better bits. Yeah, and like you say, the support. Patrick Troughton was fantastic, for example.
Yeah,
the highlight of the movie. The highlight of the movie for me.
He's a great rat catcher, and weirdly, it reminded me a bit of John Pertwee in Wurzel Gummidge.
It was a very hammy performance, wasn't it? It was sort of pantomime rat catcher.
Yeah.
But that's what made it great, because there's a couple of performances like that, because Miles Malleson, which is almost a cameo, brought in as a coachman, and I think that's just a distinct nod almost to Dead of Night. They think, let's get Miles Malleson as a coachman, and you've got the Ripper in there and all of these guys. And I'm just going to refer back to letterbox.com, which Stephen I don't think uses, but Mark and I are big fans of. Our dear friend Daniel, who's one of my co-hosts on the Talking BB podcast, has highlighted something you guys have just touched upon, and he said the Phantom himself is botched. He's less threatening than usual because all the criminal stuff is actually the work of a psychotic minion, right? Which is what you've just pointed out. Mark, your review on Letterboxd actually refers to the psychotic minion as his little stabby sidekick.
Yeah, little stabby sidekick. Yeah, I mean, he was the dodgy one, and the sex pest guy. Those were the threat.
You've got one of those on the stinking paws, haven't you? Little guy that's stabby and a sex pest.
My little sex.
Oh no, the little stabby guy is not a sex pest. Apart from grabbing a woman and dragging her into a sewer, okay. but none of them are great. Honestly, I have to tell you something that blew my mind. I read up on it this time, and it blew my mind and I kind of could see it as the film went on. Harry Hunter. Do you guys know who was in the frame to play Harry Hunter in this?
No, I haven't
You'd
read
never
any
guess. If you
background.
don't know, you wouldn't guess in a million years. I'm telling you.
I have read that. Yeah.
Go on then. You tell us.
Apparently, it was Cary Grant.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Grant.
Yes. Now, this was a big thing, wasn't it? Cary Grant expressed the desire to appear in a horror movie.
Yeah.
And this was almost written specifically for him. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, and when you listen to the dialogue, you can imagine Cary Grant delivering this way better. Actually, I didn't mind the bloke was Harry. I mean, it was all right, and I could imagine Cary Grant delivering those lines. I think the failings. I mean, it looked a bit like, to me, the two faces of Dr. Jekyll in the set design and the costuming, right? I was kind of shocked how flat it was, given it was Terence Fisher, but it wasn't Jack Asher on this, was it? So maybe that's
no. I would say there wasn't that many scenes or sets, but there are quite a few, because it isn't just set in the sewers or in the opera house, is it? Because there are other.
They're outside in
locations
London looking in the sewer, and that looked like an outside shot, but I don't know. Would they get actors in the Thames doing that? I mean, would you get in the Thames and do that? I wouldn't.
Certainly not in 1962.
I'm going to say not in 62, no.
Yeah.
You'd walk across it then, couldn't you? For the pollution.
Yeah, I did like the poster. The actual, if you look on the Wikipedia, you can see one of the posters where he's like coming down on a flaming chandelier, and it's kind of proper 30s Pulp Fiction kind of imagery. I quite like that. I also really like Michael Gough as the shithead. Oh, can we swear? I don't know.
You have.
The sex pest guy. Lord, was it D'Arcy or something? I don't know. It sounded a bit Blackadder-ish.
Lord Ambrose.
Yeah, he was great. Michael Gough at this time was in a lot of weird horror films, and famously in Doctor Who as the celestial toy maker.
That's a couple of years after this, isn't it? It's about
64. Not long.
Is it? Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, actually, you're probably right. But yeah, and that's an iconic character who's come back recently. But the Doctor Who fan base were, Celestial Toy is up there for those, and he was only in up until recently, one story. Or maybe two, actually.
There was some Big Finish stuff as well, wasn't there? I think that he came back. I think Michael Gough might have actually recorded some before he died.
Okay.
Certainly on screen, it's only the second one we've seen.
But he's terrific presence. He's a terrific presence. Him and Patrick Troughton are the standouts for me, really. And the usual Hammer guys we often see that you've already mentioned, both of them, really. Not sure about the rest of the cast. Herbert Lom's got a good voice. I think they picked it. He sounds a bit like Claude Rains, and this is kind of a partial remake of the Claude Rains Phantom, which also wasn't a great horror film.
No.
Frankly.
Well, it needed a good voice, didn't it? Because most of the film is spent behind a mask, so you need that sort of presence.
It looks like Jason.
It does. Talking of supporting cast, I mean, we've got Harold Goodwin's in there playing the stage manager. Normally he's like a drunk in a tavern somewhere alongside Michael Ripper. And we got one of Stephen's favourites. We've got Miriam Carlin there as well, mate.
Yeah, and I forgot she was in this, but I recognised that as soon as she started talking. It's like, that's Miriam Carlin. It's always good to see her and stuff.
She gave it a full harried and chow woman, didn't she? I mean, there was no holding back with her there at all in any shape or form. Yeah,
they were the best bits, weren't they? The chow ladies and the rat catcher, right? And that rat catcher.
Yeah, these little side scenes that take you away from the plot are brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't go well, didn't the film, as far as Terence Fisher's relationship with Hammer, did it? That's the problem with this really robbed us of more Terence Fisher for a while, because they sort of turned away from him a bit, and which I think is victim blaming to some extent, I think, rather than actually placing the blame where it might have possibly lay.
I'm assuming this wasn't as big a success as some of the previous stuff, because I haven't read any background on this.
It flopped.
No, it didn't do well.
It was on a double bill with Captain Clegg, wasn't it? I read somewhere that was about all I know. Which again, what a double bill. That's a really disappointing Hammer double bill.
Yeah.
I'd say the music was okay in terms of presenting an opera. I mean, we don't like opera, that's fine. I did like to hear a bit of Bach. They played a bit of Bach while the
Carter and
the
Fugue
dwarf
and all
was
that stuff.
dragging the woman through the sewers or into the sewers. They had a bit of that. That was all right. That was the best bit, really. It's not a memorable film, and it's not in the least bit scary. The only real shocker was the rat catcher one in the eye, frankly, and his old gleeful, I've got a couple here, they're fat as puppies, they make a lovely pie, all that sort of stuff. Oh man, that was good. Make a classic rat soup or ratatouille,
rat on a stick,
rat on a stick, that kind of thing.
I was left feeling that initially feeling the kit had been tampered with, that somebody had written a screenplay and then it had been altered by the powers that be in order and down, and they'd sort of taken away some of the better plotting elements, and these asides were there, but the actual plot had been messed with and weakened. But then I found out that the producer, Anthony Hind, was the actual screenplay writer under a pseudonym. So it's not even like he's come in and altered somebody else's script. He's obviously gone. It's his own script, and he could blame somebody else. He blamed Terence Fisher, seemingly, for not managing to polish his turd, really. I think a lot of missed opportunity with it in some respects, but that's not to say that there weren't some good scenes in it, and not to say that there isn't some good performances. It's just not the main plot and the main performance, really. It's all the stuff around that, which there's a lot to say about, as you say. I mean, the Ripper and Miles, etc.
I think the whole Harry Hunter music producer detective stuff didn't quite work. Him trying to happening to find a manuscript when he goes and visits the lady and finding about this professor and getting all this detective work going on. It dragged a bit, but I don't know how else they could have done it, but it did drag a bit. One thing I have to tell you though is when I saw this as a kid, right? When I was 9, 10, something like that, and it was filmed at Wimbledon Theatre, right? The only theatre I'd ever been in at that point in my life was Wimbledon Theatre because of pantomimes, because I lived 2 miles from Wimbledon Theatre, right? Yes. It's the only theatre I'd ever been in. So I just assumed when I saw this film that all theatres looked exactly the same. I had no reason to think it was Wimbledon Theatre. I just thought, they must make theatres exactly the same wherever they make them. It was only later on I found out it was Wimbledon Theatre. Obviously, I have been to other theatres since, honest.
Honest, Gough. Yeah.
Honest, but and they, I like some of it. It was all the other, it was like you say, it was the rest of the cast, like the pissed off conductor made me laugh,
Yeah.
When old Lord Ambrose or whatever his name is, he said, when I want your help, I will ask for it. And he says something like, you need all the help you can get.
you better ask for it now then, because you need all the
Brilliant.
And then he fires him, and then he goes off, dignified. He leaves, and all the rest of the musicians get up and leave as well. It's like, serves you right. There's solidarity for you.
It's like, I'm fired as they walk out. It's like, yeah, mate, all right.
I was wanting Miriam Carlin because of what she did, the rag trade in the 70s, playing a shop steward. I wanted her to suddenly, when all the musicians were walking out following the conductor, I wanted her to just pop up and say, "One out, all out."
Yeah, it was a catchphrase. Was everybody out, wasn't it?
Everybody out. Yeah.
Michael, and the singer they got in as well made me laugh. She couldn't hit them notes, and the old conductors again, and all that. But it wasn't basically the female lead. Heather Sears in this was not having a good time. She was, she had the sex pest to deal with. She had bland old Harry Hunter who kept wanting to, or Henry Hunter, kept wanting to go around the park, and then the Phantom kept slapping her into singing properly. And she's like, what the hell? What sort of film is this?
We've all been there.
I thought I'd seen Heather Sears in loads of things before, and I went back and looked at her filmography, and the only thing that's sort of recognisable or sort of notable was one of the kitchen sinks she was in. Room at the Top. And I'm thinking that face is so familiar. It can't just be that movie that I know her from, and it actually is.
No, I've seen her. She did more than one thing with Joan Crawford, I think. But she did a thing with Joan Crawford where she was playing like a deaf, mute, blind girl. that I seem to think I've seen at some point. But
I thought I'd seen her in some Technicolor British movie like Genevieve or something like that. Oh,
Yeah, this one I thought is so familiar, isn't it? The face. But
Kenneth Moore in something. But honestly, if it
Right.
does on IMDb, I'm wrong. She must look like someone.
No,
maybe.
honestly, she's in a sort of 70s version of Great Expectation. Phantom of the Opera, Room at the Top. There's a film called The Love Goddess, 1905. Sons and Lovers.
That might be it. That might be one
Yeah.
thing of.
There's a thing called The Black Torment. The Story of Esther Costello, I think, is the one you're on about, Stephen, possibly.
that's it. Yeah.
And it looks like there's an Ealing film called Dry Rot, I think, and a 60s thing called Saturday Night Out, which is quite a good film, actually. So not, a major star. I think all the money must have gone on to, paying for Herbert Lom. And the budget overinflated, according to what I'm reading here at the moment. It was sort of allocated £200,000, but because they hired out the Wimbledon Theatre, as you said, Mark, and they had to hire a full orchestra of 100 people, and it doubled to 400,000, which was massive for a Hammer film. Just going back, because the familiarity with previous versions or the actual source material, the bit with the flashback scenes where he breaks into the printers and the whole accident.
Way too late in the film as well.
Exactly, because I'm watching it.
It really dragged the end. Didn't it?
But is that true to other versions? Is that how he actually becomes disfigured in other versions, that he's trying to steal back his
I think in the original story he's born that way, right?
That's just what I thought. It just didn't ring true, this whole thing of breaking in, and Herbert Lom.
Yeah, and the Universal one has him scarred by something. Probably acid again. It could be burning. I mean, this one was... What was this one? He threw nitric acid on the fire or something.
Yeah,
thinking it was water.
Yeah, and it blew up in his face, yeah.
Yeah.
Which would happen.
Horrible. And then he fell in the sewer, which would kill you anyway, right? Never mind about anything else. Never mind having a face full of burns as you do it.
The infection in those wounds would be awful.
What made me laugh is there was a small step between two of the raised bits, but everyone just jumped straight in the sewer water across. They didn't jump across. It was mad. It was mad.
But
how does that organ get there as well? How did that?
Yeah, the organ and the double bed.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. What made me laugh, at one point the Phantom says to the little fella, his stabby sidekick, "Get me some water for her," and he just goes to the sewer.
That's going to do really good for vocal cords, isn't it? Yeah.
I can imagine, that Johnny Cash song, One Piece at a Time, where he builds a Cadillac, where he works in the Cadillac factory. His little stabby sidekick comes back with one part of the organ every single day in his pocket. and it takes 20 years to build it. One little key at a time. One black key one day, a white key the next.
And all these duplicate theatres around London all have the same organ also, so you can take one bit from each and it will be noticed. Yes, Max. There we go.
Yeah. Has it got a C? I haven't got a C. Sorry, we'll have to.
Yeah, sorry, we'll have to have there's a gap there. Yeah. Also, you guys mentioned, I think Stephen said something about it just felt like there was something missing. Again, I've just noticed on somewhere, I think it might be Wikipedia here, NBC obviously had the same thoughts, Stephen, because when they did the first TV showing of it, and it was in the 60s, it wasn't too long after it came out, they filmed extra scenes featuring two Scotland Yard detectives who are not in the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Wow. Make it longer.
Yeah. I mean, it was 84 minutes long anyway, which is standard sort of length for a Hammer and any sort of British movie at this time. But obviously, NBC obviously felt like, Stephen, there was something lacking, and they just created these two Scotland Yard detectives that didn't interact with any other characters, probably just walking around an office or something,
Well,
they did a bit of that in one of the other films. Wasn't Two-Face?
Well, it is in the original. It was in the original of this that there's a detective as part of the cast who is actually trying to track down the fans as well, and it's like a love rival also for the lead. So there is that precedent within Phantom of the Opera, which they just decided to take out of this version, and then obviously somebody else decided to put it back in. So, but no, Mark's right that there is a tie-in with one of the other recent Hammer films.
I think it was Two-Face. There was definitely some police stuff going on that didn't seem to be connected to anything. Like the actors weren't in the same, the main cast wasn't in the same room with them, and it didn't go anywhere. And it just, I think it might have been the werewolf one. Thinking of it, I think it was the werewolf one, the Ollie Reed one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this film is, it's okay while you're watching it, but it's really not memorable. and it's not scary. The makeup's all right.
It's a shame because it's perfect material for Hammer. You know, it should have been a lot better because it had, you know, if it had been done properly or sort of similarly to some of the stuff we've seen previously, they could have done a really good version of this, and it just falls flat, doesn't it, guys? I think there's just something missing from all of this.
Honestly, I think the best version of the classic story is probably the Andrew Lloyd Webber movie, because that was cinematic, you know, and interesting.
That one with Gerard Butler.
Or was it Banderas? I can't. It could have been Gerard Butler. Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw one with Gerard Butler playing. I'm sure it's the musical version with him.
I thought it was Banderas, but it could be Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the 90s, wasn't it, or the 2000s or something?
Yeah, I was going to say the 90s, but yeah.
Anyway, that of the classic story, that's the one I like best, to be honest. I think it captures it much better. It's not scary either, but at least it's interesting.
Am I right in thinking there was a version with Robert England at one point?
Yes, there was a straight one. I haven't seen it, but so that might be good. But that'll obviously go more exploitation, but that might be that's probably a good thing, to be honest. But yeah, you are. It was Gerard Butler. I've just looked it up. It was Gerard.
2004 version was Gerard Butler.
Yeah, Joel Schumacher, who sometimes makes terrible films, but sometimes makes glorious looking films. But yeah, there's a good version, I'd say, actually.
Yeah, there's the Dario Argento version, which I wasn't even aware of, with Julian Sands. Yeah.
Julian Sands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, let's sort of try and cheer ourselves up a bit by going into the Village Hall of Fame. Stephen, as per usual, has been collating all the cast members, rallying them up the garden path into the Hall of Fame. And I think there's quite a few to deal with today. So get your keys, mate. Let's go and have a little look. Okay, Village Hall of Fame. Stephen, how would you like to start this week, my friend? We're going into the Hammer Crypt of Fame or our usual Hall of Fame?
We'll go into the Hammer, concentrate on that to begin with, and then fill in the blanks, as it were, from going on from there. So as far as people actually getting into the crypt properly, getting their own niche in there, and that's 3 appearances. Fred Wood, who
we know quite well,
is getting in there. Curse of Frankenstein and Curse of the Werewolf. So he's done well with 4 appearances for just one person, and that's Miles Malleson. The Bride of Dracula and Hound of the Baskervilles. All terrific turns in each of those.
Yeah.
And then we skip ahead quite a bit and have 8 appearances from one person, and his name is Michael Ripper. You've never heard of him, obviously. Bride of Dracula, Curse of the Werewolf, Man Who Could Cheat Death, The Mummy, Quatermass 2, Revenge of Frankenstein, and X the Unknown. And then it's 2 people having their 10 appearances, which is Terence Fisher and Anthony Hine.
Had to be,
who've done list all films that they've been in. So that's quite a lot in there for those. But we're hopeful for some of the other people to be appearing more. I mean, Harold Goodwin is just on the cusp with 2 appearances, so we're hoping for him, exactly, to be honest. Not just because he's on the bingo card, bonus card, but also because you know, he's only one off getting in there, and it will happen. So I look forward to that. But it wasn't a massive cast in some respects, but as far as named people, there was certainly a lot of people on stage, and I was in luck and seeing it. I could see a Victor Harrington or something over playing a judge in the opera or something, or sitting around in the restaurant or things like that. I was having luck. But
thinking about it, the only sort of famous background cast member that we're fully aware of, I think, would be the Fred Wood one. That was about it. I think there was none of the usual suspects, was there, mate? Really, unless you've got something up your sleeve for later on.
No, there wasn't anybody significant in that way. No, it was these ones that sadly a bit of a gap. And I mean, we do say we don't to get the in the Hammers is a shame. But otherwise that was the crypt inductees really, and the appearances obviously.
Wow, not many at all.
No.
Okay.
So
Let's take a sort of little venture out of the crypt then into the main Hall of Fame, which is like bursting at the seams at the moment.
It is.
I'm sure you've a few to add to it, mate. Who's going to be inducted and who's added? What's going on?
Well, I mean, wanting to just mention the first appearance for Patrick Troughton, who we've already spoken about, with his fantastic turn, the scene-stealing performance.
Is this
really
his first film that we
is
reviewed with Patrick Troughton?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow, over 150 movies and it's our first Patrick Troughton. That's surprising. Okay.
But he comes in with a real storming performance, to be fair.
Oh,
So,
even if you don't see him again, that's fine. He's done his job, hasn't he? That's
Yeah, he blew the doors off on this one, that's for sure.
Yeah, did. So, second appearances for Marnie Maitland, who was in Tiger Bay, and Heather Sears, who was in Room at the Top, which you've always mentioned.
Of course, yeah.
Two people making their third appearances, so actually getting into the hall rather than having to sit on the step with a twist and a bottle of pop. And that's Michael Gough for Dracula and Reach for the Sky, and Herbert Lom for Hell Drivers and Northwest Frontier.
Wow, they're two worthy inductees this week. That's good.
Have you guys never done the Lady Killers then? Or?
No, we're
I'm
saving.
shocked.
It's one of my top 3 movies, mate. We're saving that for episode 200 or
Did
something.
you, when you were watching this, did you start wondering if the eye would start twitching you like Dreyfus?
Also, I was wondering during this movie, was he wearing a wig in the non-mask scenes, like the flashbacks? Because obviously we know Herbert Lom from the Pink Panthers, as you say, and his hair was receding from quite an early age.
Oh, I'm sure he was wearing.
And I'm sure that's a wig he's wearing.
Yeah, bit of a syrup, yeah.
To try and make him look younger as well, I suppose.
If we had dodgy hat stroke, dodgy wig, then might be worth it.
Yeah.
Fourth appearances, we've got 5 people. Harold Goodwin, Cruel Sea, Long Arm, Mummy, and One Good Turn. Miriam Carlin, fantastic.
Yeah.
The Entertainer, Heavens Above, Room at the Top. Martin Miller, Man of the Moment, Peeping Tom, The Third Man. Liam Redmond, hopefully you reckon from things. Curse of the Demon, Cruel Sea, and Yield to the Night. And Thorley Walters, who we
Brilliant.
quite prominent in this. Heavens Above, Man Who Haunted Himself from Private Progress.
Liam Redmond is the Irish fella, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah. He's you roll out an Irish and you pick him. Yeah,
I know exactly who Liam Redmond is.
Yeah, quite prominent eyebrows, I seem to recall.
Yes.
Most films. So 6th appearance for John Harvey, Curse of the Demon, Dunkirk, Heavens Above, Private Progress, and X the Unknown. It's another person who's induction.
Okay.
2 people making their 7th appearances, Lucy Griffith and Emile Stemler.
The great Lucy Griffiths, the real character actress. When you see her face, you'll know her from everything from Carry Ons to Ealing. Yeah.
She in the Trinian?
I think so. The way I sort of describe her, if I'm trying to describe who Lucy Griffiths is, it's one of the Carry On doctors with Jim Dale, and it's the one where he's being dragged across the floor by the floor polisher, and he goes under the beds and like pops all the radio wirelesses that are in, the headphones that are in people's ears, and she's the old lady and the sparks come out of her headphones while she's doing her knitting on one of the hospital beds. That's Lucy Griffith.
Yeah, she's got a bit of a Joyce Grenfell. Well, not really Joyce Grenfell, but she's upright, right? She's one of
a bit like Esme Cannon sort of thing. That sort of character actress. That's all right.
Yeah, obviously, as we said previously, with regards to the 10th appearance, Terence Fisher and Anthony Hines. Then 12th appearance is for 2 people, and that's Michael Ripper for Bride of Dracula, Constant Husband, Curse of the Werewolf, Man Who Could Cheat Death, The Mummy, Prize to Arms, Quatermass 2, Reach for the Sky, Revenge of Frankenstein, X the Unknown, and Yield to the Night. Wow. And Ian Wilson, Carry On, Constable, Heavens Above, Hell Drivers, Man of the Moment, One Good Turn, The Plank, Private Progress, Scrooge, 7 Days to Noon, Trouble in Stowe, and The Wicker Man.
This is bizarre because this is Stabby Sidekick guy, isn't he, Ian Wilson?
Yeah, and this is, I think, the most visible he's been in any of the films that we've had him in.
Yeah, I'm trying to, because I can't picture him in any of those movies you just mentioned at all.
He's normally, we did, see him and not see him. It's the first time we actually go, we get a very clear view of him, and he's on screen.
According to IMDb, he was 5 foot tall, and the trivia says, bespectacled British character actor in films from 1922 as meek public servants, professional men, or busybodies. Appeared in most of the films made by the Bolting brothers. So we're going to see more of him.
Oh yeah. Well, at least 5 foot of it.
All of him, yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame most things go straight over his head.
So those two are creeping up. They're 12 appearances, so they're sort of at the top of
they
of
are
the chart.
in that top ranking. Yeah, I mean, once
Yeah.
you get into double figures, you're really achieving. Another person into the double figures, 13 appearances, is Patrick Halpin.
Again, that's
Obviously,
that
we all
name.
know him so well. We recognise his face. 10 Millington plays Admiral Crichton, Doctor in the House, Gideon's Day, Goldfinger, The Long Arm, Man Who Never Was, Night to Remember, One Good Turn, The Rebel, X the Unknown, and Two Fists of Dr. Jekyll. I had to read out the films he was in because he's the first one to actually have been in Night to Remember.
We haven't had any today. That's amazing.
Wow.
So it was worth reading his films out for that.
125 credits on IMDb.
Yeah, so he wasn't a slacker really. He put himself out there, waiting for his big break to be the lead in some film, and probably never was.
Never happened. All uncredited. All his appearances say uncredited by the look of it.
Yeah,
Oh,
a shame.
got any
Didn't
more?
get
Are there
his
any
name in
more?
lights. 14 appearances for Miles Malleson.
Oh, he's racking them up now.
He is, yeah. 39 Steps, Admiral Crichton, Brides of Dracula, Dead of the Night, Dracula, Gideon's Day, Heavens Above, Hound of the Baskervilles, Man Who Never Was, Peeping Tom, Private Progress, Scrooge, and Train of Events.
Not a bad movie amongst any of those.
No, absolutely not. No, and even if there was a bad movie, he was probably still fantastic in it. With his it's almost a cameo, as you said. You get him in, and a lot of the characters are very, just a type, isn't it? He's playing judges and absent-minded professors and vicars and kind of thing. Yeah,
With tarantulas, vicars with tarantulas, doctors who like adding a fee on, no one minds, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I'll sell you an extra eye. Yeah. So, and then finally, one person making their 15th appearance is Fred Wood.
Yes, it had to be Fred Wood because you'd already mentioned him in The Hammer in the Crypt of Fame. Is that 15 now?
15, yeah.
Go
Amazing
on,
Mr. Blunden, Amazing Mr. Blunden, Curse of Frankenstein, Curse of the Werewolf, Dad's Army, From Russia with Love, Heavens Above, Man for All Seasons, Night to Remember, Robbery, Three Hats for Lisa, Time Bandits, Wicker Man, and With Nail and I.
Must put him about third or fourth in the list. Sure.
Yeah, it's well up there, yeah. You're really good to remember these off the top of my head.
Don't use any spreadsheets at all, do you?
No,
it's all
not reading it at all.
No,
So yeah, I mean, Fred Wood. I tried to spot him in this, and I don't think I did, but he was there.
Stagehand uncredited.
Yeah, if you look at his IMDb, I'm looking at his Wikipedia right now. Almost everything he's done is uncredited. Everything.
Yeah, classic Hall of Fame inductee. and if you look at his photo on IMDb, he looks like a serial killer. It looks like a mugshot.
Yeah. I mean, he was a lot of the time. He was, the person carrying the casket in a funeral, or some of the characters he played just outside.
Yeah, this is incredible. I mean, he died 2003. And he was even acting right up into the late 90s. He appeared in Mission Impossible, the first Mission Impossible, and Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and The Craze. He was acting in all of those movies.
Oh man, he was in History of War Part. We just covered on my podcast History of War Part 1, and he was in that.
There you go. Yeah, it's so many credits. Again, this one, 226 credits on IMDb. He's definitely going to be a top 3. With the usual suspects or usual contenders, mate, obviously, but that is amazing.
Its credits are amazing. It's got some here that just throw me out. Yeah. Now, what I meant is the title of what his character: Naked Protester. I've got one.
Yeah.
Ancient Elf, Slave of Calibos.
Brilliant.
Star Wars Cantina Patron. How about that? Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's everything.
I think he's one that's maybe done the full set of James Bond's Hammer, Carry On. The full set we would be talking about, including So I think he fits in that fairly unique category for some of the people we're talking, but still that sort of the equivalent of getting the Emmy, the Tony, the Oscar, the whatever it is.
Yeah, we're gonna have to come up with something, aren't we?
Yeah,
that?
what's it? C, Bond, CB. What's the other one? Hammer, CB8. Oh, it doesn't work.
Norman Wisdom. Yeah, it'll never work. It'll never work. The one that's making me laugh, you know, the film Gandhi held the record for the most number of extras.
Yeah.
Richard Attenborough got something like 250,000 extras to appear in the crowd scene towards the end of Gandhi. And it was in the Guinness Book of Records. It probably still is because crowd scenes are done by CGI now, aren't they? But he's credited in Gandhi as Man in the Crowd.
Nice. Honestly.
Never ever spot him. That'd be brilliant. Try and find Fred. It'd be like Where's Wally.
I think that probably wins Man in Crowd Gandhi, right? There's one here that does make me laugh, another one of his, which is Unneighbourly Neighbour. Love My Neighbour. Unneighbourly Neighbour.
Yeah. As you say, they're all uncredited, but there are some amazing. He was in Carry On Girls. There's your Carry On. I'm just looking. Obviously, he's in a Hammer.
Star Wars is, you know, that's something.
He's in a Hitchcock. He was in Frenzy. Carry On at Convenience as well. Oh, talking of Carry On at Your Convenience, the housekeeper in this, Mrs.
Renée Houston.
Renée Houston. Yeah. Carry On at Your Convenience. She's Kenneth Cope's landlady. Kenneth Cope's mother, who is also Charles Hawtrey's landlady, and she plays strip poker with Charles Hawtrey.
Amazing.
She's also she's definitely in. I'm researching correctly. She's Centurion.
Okay. Yeah.
Fred Wood. I expect we'll see her again, but this is surprisingly of her and things. Character.
Yeah. I think you're probably right with Fred Wood appearing in all of our sort of seasons that we're running, because he was in Press for Time. So there's your Norman Wisdom. There's at least 2 Carry On. Doctor Who is in Daleks Invasion Earth. Obviously in the Hammers. Carry On Cowboy as well. Can't see a Bond at the moment. Hard Day's Night. Did you see one? Yeah.
Maybe I was looking at another one.
Russia with Love. Gypsy in Russia with Love.
Yeah. There you go. And he was in some of the Roger Corman Poe films too.
Yeah, I saw that as well. March of the Red Death. And yeah.
That is quite impressive.
Oh, another Wisdom, Girl on the Boat. That's a lesser one, isn't it, Stephen? Girl on the Boat from 62.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for him. Conga, talking to Michael Gough. He was in Conga. Was Michael Gough in Conga? Am I thinking
yes,
right?
It was the scientist who turned the chip to King Kong and went down what looked like the Edgware Road to me.
That's it. Yeah, and Gorgo. He appeared in Gorgo the year before.
That was another. That was a Godzilla rip-off, and I think
was with Bill Travers, wasn't it? I think.
Wasn't that the one that kind of you see against Big Ben? Or am I dreaming?
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Yeah,
Godzilla does London. London kills Godzilla. No worry.
Oh, born in my neck of the woods. Born in Rotherhithe, 1921. There we go. Died in Lewisham.
We don't want to hold that against him.
We like Fred Wood. As I say, dear listeners, if you can look on his IMDb page, the photo that they use is incredible. It looks like that dodgy Nick Nolte mugshot when Nick Nolte got arrested that time and looked like he'd been dragged through a hedge back. Exactly.
Well, I think that photo was taken in 2004, and bearing in mind he died in January 2003.
It's like one of those Victorian photos where they take photos of the corpses of their loved ones.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I thought it was someone from the Rolling Stones.
It does look like Keith Richards.
Cross between Keith Richards and Mick Jagger.
Good old Fred Wood. We love Fred Wood. He's a real contender though for
absolutely, yeah.
At the top of their Village Hall of Fame. Amazing.
Oh my God, he was in Batman. Oh my God. Michael Keaton.
His wife was also an extra in film. So, we'll have to start maybe having a look for her and stuff in future.
Please tell me her name's Frida.
No, John.
Okay, that's the Village Hall of Fame and the Crypt of Fame. Stephen, thank you so much as usual for doing that. I always say it's a bit of a daunting task and a bit of a challenge, but I think you quite enjoy doing it in some sort of sick perverted way.
Yeah, exactly. Sick and perverted is, again, as a descriptive. Yeah, you get that far into it now, it becomes a thing and one obsession.
Yeah, the statistics, as we say, when we come across something like Fred Wood and we've just literally just dipped our toes into his filmography, it just opens up all manner of conversation. So thank you so much again. Okay, one of the other regular things we do when Mark is here with us for the Hammer specials is our version of bingo, and it's Bob's Full House of Horror. Here's the music. We'll be back with our bingo cards. Okay, the bingo cards this week, in which we delve into the tropes of the Hammer movies, and this has become quite competitive. As it stands,
now I'm not winning anymore. I've become competitive. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be interesting this week because you two have both got the bonus cards because you're both in second place with 46 points. I'm just in the lead on 49. As it stands this week, Mark, you get card number 1. I get card number 2. Stephen gets card number 3. So, shall we go in card order? Mark, card number 1.
Right, okay. Pitchfork Villager. No, there's none of that.
I'd say no. Yeah.
Ripper, clearly, in horrible makeup, he looked like he'd been rolling around in glue or something. I don't know.
Do you think they were trying to disguise the fact that he was Michael Ripper?
Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
I think it was, although it's probably an attempt to try and make him look he'd been out in cold, so his face frozen. It did look like he, as you say, it got some glitter from the Christmas set and scattered it on his face.
It was a bit singing detective, honestly.
It was anyway. A bit flaky, yeah. Point for that.
Mad Scientist, nah, there's no Spooky Throat, no, none of that. Blood Red Eyes. Nah, I don't remember any of that.
It focused on his eyes quite a lot, right at the very beginning.
They were blood red.
Yeah, there was a lot of eye shots in it. Okay.
Yeah, but unless you include the eye with a knife sticking out.
That's bloody eye.
That was blood, and it was an eye. But...
Mark, I'll tell you what, we're clutching for points at the moment. For you. I think. Can we give him that one, Steve?
Give it to him. Give it to that one. Yeah.
Was it good blonde, bad brunette? Nah. There was more like a mousy milk toast average.
Yeah.
That's himbo. I don't know. Old Hunter, bit of a himbo, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he was.
He was bought in to look good, wasn't he?
Yeah, we're going with that. Elder Souza. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and Barbara Shelley, clearly not.
Not in that one. No. So 3 points for Mark.
Yeah.
But you've still got your bonus to come as well in a second. Yeah. Okay, I'm on card 2, so let's have a look. Spooky Coachman. Well, I've got 2.
They weren't spooky.
Well,
they weren't spooky.
Michael Ripper was spooky looking. Okay. Barbara Shelley is a no, as we say. Barbara Shelley, as we say, no. Mystery Monster. Was he a
Mystery Monster? Yes. You've got to have that one. Yeah.
He was whispering through the walls, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? Okay. I mean, that's another sex pest thing as well, but never mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the judge told you.
Bat on a string or similar dodgy special.
Well, we had a stagehand on a string at the beginning, but not a bat.
There was no dodgy special effects. They were quite good in this, weren't they?
Yeah, they were
the makeup was good.
Right.
And, I even dipped out on this one, which is normally a shoe-in, the James Bernard score.
Yeah.
Score. No, I missed out this week.
Let's do it. Who thought? Let's do this glorious, fantastic Saturday opera. Who should we use? Oh, let's not use James Bernard.
Let's not use the best.
What the hell?
You're going to give me a point for Himbo, you say,
Himbo. Yeah. Himbo's right.
Inventive crucifix, or what did we say? Inventive manner of death, or something.
Yeah, this had, I don't know, a chandelier.
How did he die at the end?
The dwarf inexplicably cut the chandelier.
The chandelier, wasn't it? Yeah.
Without any explanation.
Trying to escape this Fred Wood at the stage. He thought he looked like a corpse.
Transformed terror.
Well, the acid thrown in your face, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's 3 for me as well. So Mark 3, Scott 3. Stephen, you've got card number 3.
Right.
Right.
Plunging cleavage, sadly, not.
No, not even the ginger
Busty Ginger that couldn't sing,
Busty
but
Ginger
he
that couldn't
was.
sing. It was obviously from a musical.
Yeah, it was from some light opera, Gilbert and Sullivan or something over. But
I mean, there wasn't much hammer glamour in this at all.
There wasn't, sadly.
That'll be coming up in a minute. Yeah. Okay.
That'll be coming up. Yeah, deformed assistant. Yes, I've got that one.
I'm amazed how good he looked, considering he lived in a sewer, London sewer as well, in the Victorian era.
That's what people look like in London.
He's probably 6'5" before he went in, frankly.
It's probably improved. The Ripper, I've got that one. Very much. Thunder and lightning. Now I think there was some thunder going on when he was throwing himself in the river. There was. So there was a storm going on there. So I'll clutch at that storm straw. Spooky glow, no, not really. They could have put a spooky glow within the sewer scene, the crypt and stuff. Decided not. Good blonde, bad brunette. But it was kind of very roundy, but mystery monster. Yes, we agreed on that.
Yeah, point there.
And James Bernard Score. No, we were robbed. Maybe he saw the script and decided not to do it. Who knows?
So that gives you 4 points compared to our 3, but yourself and Mark have now got the bonus card because you were behind last.
Yeah.
I'll read these out, chaps. The bonus card. Kensington Gore. I'm going to say yes because of the Patrick Troughton.
Yeah.
A jaunty hat.
Yeah, there was a few. The child ladies had jaunty hats.
Anything set in Victorian Paris, London, whatever, has got to have a jaunty hat.
Yeah, the Ratcatcher had one. The music hall girl had one. Yeah.
Okay. Fangs. There were no fangs in this, I'm going to say.
Nah.
But both get a point for Harold Goodwin, who doesn't crop up that much. But yeah, that's the definite point. Breathing corpse or somebody pretending to to be dead that quite clearly is.
Nah, there was none of that.
Didn't have any close
any corpses. No.
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna let you two fight this out. Hammer Glamour.
No. This is the least glamorous film we've seen so far, honestly.
We've got no Hazel Court, no Madeline Smith, no Veronica, no Val.
No.
Valerie no Valerie Leon, those sort of things.
No, none of that.
No. I mean, Heather Sears, she's very pretty, but she's not. It's your English type.
It's not our
your glamour.
Traditional Hammer Glamour, like your busty serving wench in Bavaria or anything, Transylvania. Yep, okay. Skeleton or skull?
Oh, no, I can't
I don't think it was.
No.
Okay. Now, bearing in mind, we've got Harold Goodwin and we've got Michael Ripper, where we would usually find in a bar, pub, or inn.
No, none of those.
There was only the restaurant. No, there was the restaurant that went into, but that's
it, really. Yeah. Okay. Bit disappointed. That was the other disappointment. No, you need a bar scene in a Hammer film, right?
Yeah.
So the barman can say, we don't talk about that and all that stuff. No,
keep off the moor. Yeah. Stay on the path, lads. Right, so by my reckoning, you both got an extra 3 points there. Stephen got a total of 7. Mark got a total of 6. I got a total of 3. So that now puts me on 52. Mark is now on 52. Stephen is on 53.
Oh, this handicap is going well, isn't it? It's making it a tight race.
So we get the bonus card, Mark, for the next movie.
Cool. I wasn't expecting that.
No. Yeah. So because we're both in we're only a point behind, so this could be quite
you're either joint second or joint last, depending on whether you want to be.
Joint second.
Joint second.
Just as I do whenever I go put petrol in the car, I always try to go to pump number 1 just so I can walk into the petrol station shop and say I am number 1. So I have a second opportunity to be able to do that now with the Hammer Bingo, to be able to say I am number 1.
At
least until next episode on the family.
Yeah, when we do Buddy's song, you can say I am the one and only. Yeah.
That's it. Get Daltrey in on it. Yeah.
So, summing up, guys, disappointing, I think, is the overlying word here for this.
Yeah. This is the worst one we've seen. This is the worst film we've seen so far.
Okay. It promised a lot, didn't it?
True. Yeah, and It delivered in the look of it, and it delivered in the ancillary performances, but not from the main plot or the main performance. They underused Herbert Lom, I think. The opportunity of doing more with him in a flashback, but it was very meek and mild and didn't really have that presence, unfortunately. So, first time watch, and I'm not sure I'm going to bother watching it again, to be honest. It's unlike most other Hammers, which I repeatedly, this one,
I think you're right in saying that apart from Michael Gough as one of the lead stars in this, the action really focused or was better on people like the scenes with Miriam Carlin, with Patrick Troughton, with Michael Ripper and Miles Madison. That made the movie for me. As I say, the whole Ratcatcher thing for me was I laughed out loud.
Yeah, I have to say, when I was watching this, I wonder if that influenced, having a Ratcatcher in Straw Dogs. Because he had that.
Oh, yeah.
It was weird, right? It kind of made me think of Straw Dogs, which is a totally different film, right? But yeah, because you don't get Ratcatchers in many films. It's not a thing. But he was terrific.
Yeah, when I had my pub, we had a regular who was a retired Ratcatcher in South London, in Bermondsey. That's his job. Proper old school Ratcatcher. Some of the stories he used to tell, they were horrific, what went on. But Patrick Troughton was the highlight for me. And they've tweaked the story that most of us seem to know, and sort of the tweaks haven't worked. The lack of James Bernard has sort of hindered the movie a little bit. It looks lavish enough. The sets look quite great, the whole sewer scene, and the bit with the chandelier at the end was great, But it's just missing something, isn't it, guys? It's a shame because it
ain't scary. It's not scary. You're not interested in the love story in any way, honestly. And the Phantom was. I mean, Herbert Lom's a good actor, but it just was bland, right? So there was nothing going for it apart from whatever we could find, which was plenty, but yeah.
I think you're right in saying that originally when the Universal version came out in the 30s or wherever it automatically got classified as a horror movie. And it's not, strictly speaking, as you say.
No, I think, I could be wrong, but I think it's the only Universal horror movie in colour from that era. Probably I think it looks good. It suffers from the same issues film though, Claude Rains is a great voice, but it's Invisible Man, awesome, right? But the way both films were made, just not scary.
But there's no need for this to be vastly different to the plot of the films. I mean, this was done in tandem with Universal, a deal. So it's not like they had to avoid replicating elements to avoid being sued.
Yeah.
So it's that disappointment that they seem to have maybe kept some of the bits that weren't necessary to keep, and then jettisoned out the interesting bits, unfortunately.
Yeah, like I say, not a very good film around. Neither of them. I'm just trying to look up to see if he was Professor Petrie in that, but he wasn't. No. He was a different character, but it felt kind of similar. I mean, that is famous for a chandelier crashing down, and it much more effectively and scarily in the first version. Sorry, in the Universal version of the film. So I think they had to put a chandelier in, whatever they did. But it would have been more satisfying if it had fallen on the sex pest rather than the Phantom fragment. That I could understand why the midget would cut the chandelier. I've got to be honest, but in this it makes no sense either. So the only thing is there is a nice emotional resolution where the Phantom actually gets what he wants, to see his own opera done the way he wants. You see a tear in his eye, which is kind of cool.
His only eye, yeah. Tear in his one eye.
Yeah. So there's a tiny bit of emotional empathy there, I guess, but really, no, it's all too little too late. And that whole flashback thing was way too late in the film. It just dragged the end.
Definitely way too late. Yeah. Okay. Well, next time we'll be back in a second to discuss what we got next time, and it's something a little bit different, and it marks the return of James Bernard with the score, thank God. So back after this.
The Phantom of the Opera.
Behind the cavernous walls of a great theatre, behind the gaiety and make-believe, there lurks evil, an unspeakable evil.
The Phantom of the Opera.
the motion picture screen's unrivaled masterpiece of the macabre.
Only once in every generation comes a tale of such classic horror to hold audiences forever captive with its sheer fascination, its overwhelming terror, its frightening power.
The Phantom of the Opera.
Beneath his mask, the grotesque face of unimaginable horror.
But within his heart, the desperate desire for beauty and love.
Drama to thrill you and chill you as no other motion picture ever has.
In color,
The Phantom of the Opera.
All right then, chaps. Okay, we've got something a little bit different. We ummed and ahed a little bit over whether to include this, but Mark, you've seen this next movie, and it is a worthy sort of entrant into our review of the Hammer movies.
Yeah, it's not gothic horror as we're used to, but it is Hammer doing British sci-fi at this time. Now, they've already, Quatermass built the studio, really. The money from Quatermass built all of this. So it's not that unfamiliar for us. We've seen The X, The Unknown, and we've seen the 2 Quatermass films so far. It's an interesting sci-fi. That bleak British sci-fi. Day of the Triffids kind of bleak, Quatermass kind of bleak. So, yeah.
Right. Well, it's starring Donald Carey, the late Shirley Ann Field, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. Oliver Reed's in this one. Walter Goethel from the James Bond movies in it with Kenneth Cope and James Villiers. There's a lot of different people. Nicholas Clay, Stephen. He was Excalibur, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, one of your favourite movies, Stephen. So he's obviously a child actor in this. It's The Damned, or the US title is These Are the Damned, from 1962 or 1963, depending on what country you were in. And the briefest of synopsis: an American tourist, a youth gang leader, and his troubled sister find themselves trapped in a top-secret government facility experimenting on children. Now, that sounds creepy enough just from the synopsis. I haven't seen it. The trailer looks amazing. Looks really good.
It's the film that gave the name to the punk band as well.
There you go. See, look at that. Gems of little trivia before we've even reviewed it. Happy with that? I think we'll go with that one, because then it goes into gothic horror with another vampire movie after that.
Mark said exactly right, that this type of thing was about the start of where we started. We acknowledged that sort of sci-fi horror element, so it's exactly right. I think that we do include it, they're just wrong.
It'll be interesting to see, because it's not a Terence Fisher, it's Joseph Losey, who famously did those Dirk Bogarde movies like The Servant and Accident around about this sort of time in the early 60s, and they're excellent pieces.
He knows how to direct actors and set a scene and be able to add tension or whatever, drama or whatever he needs to get the best out of a scene. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I mean, he was uncredited as a director, or one of the directors on X, The Unknown as well, so it's perfect for him in that respect. So I'm looking forward to it. I can't remember actually having seen this. The Damned, or These Are the Damned, next time we three meet. Mark, before we go, I think we forgot to mention it last time you were on. Can you just give the audience a quick heads up as to where they can find you on your other podcast?
Oh, yes. If you go to The Good, The Bad, or The Odd. Sorry, I've said it wrong. I can't believe I said it.
Try again.
The Bad and The Odd.com. That's all one word. You can find us there, or all reputable and disreputable streaming, podcasting apps and sites. You'll find us. We've been going for so long now. We're part of Furniture. We're second wave of podcasters, basically.
Absolutely.
I think 11 years now, 12 years, something like that. 12 years this year. Nearly 1,000 episodes, so there's a lot of shit to listen.
There's a lot of good stuff as well, my friend. I mean, where are you up to in the Hammer retrospective?
We are we just did Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. And I think our next one is Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. So we're getting towards the tail end, which is the good is their second golden age. As far
I
as
love
I'm
that era.
concerned.
Yeah.
It's a very fun era. They were struggling, so they're just trying all sorts of crazy stuff. So we've got some interesting stuff going on. In addition to we have various films. Hammer is our current big cycle we're doing. In addition to that, I do a sub podcast called Anthologic, which covers. I like to think it's very niche. I don't think there's any other podcast that does this. It covers anthology TV series, and we do a big focus on Night Gallery, which made me think there's a classic Night Gallery story about Phantom of the Opera. It made me think, which is better than this film, frankly, and shorter, called The Phantom of What Opera, if anyone. Outer Limits and Twilight Zone, but I also dip into. There is so much anthology TV, and some of it is absolutely excellent. Some of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen, I've encountered going through the list. So Anthologic is a sub one. You can listen to it on its own feed, but it's also part of the main feed. So if you listen to the main feed, you'll get both lots. So yeah,
plenty to listen. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you not only for being the custodian of the Hall of Fame and the Crypt of Fame, but for all your hard work of editing recently as well. Thank you, and taking part.
Oh, that's been well.
Okay, chaps, we'll get together after these microphones have turned off to work out when we're going to be back, but we'll see you all very soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Shower. A positive shower.
Bon voyage. Good luck. Thank you.
Keeping the British hand up, sir.